What's up, everyone? So what do these 4 tips that I'm about to share with you and my experience at a Tony Robbins convention have in common? They'll both help you get a more positive mindset. Now, I'm excited to share this story with you, so let's roll the intro and get right to it. What's going on, guys? My name is Jonathan, and on this channel we give you tips and tools to inspire entrepreneurship and to create lifelong success. And I'm really excited about sharing this video with you. It's video number 2 about mindset. We're going through an 8-part series on mindset, the power of mindset, having a positive mindset, everything about the topic of mindset, because it's so incredibly important. But I'm excited to share this story with you about my experience at a Tony Robbins convention, because it perfectly illustrates some of the 4 points for practical tips for positive mindset that we're going to be going over today. So anyway, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, going to this big convention. There's a bunch of different speakers. Actually, the guy that I was going to see was an entrepreneur by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk. Absolutely love his content, and he's on YouTube and everywhere else. But I was going to see him for a strategy session for my business, and during the entire afternoon, after lunch, was when Tony Robbins was going to speak, and I'd never seen him speak live. Now, if you've watched I Am Not Your Guru on Netflix, or if you have read any of his books or listened to any of his audio, you know the power with which this guy speaks. He's very, very electric, and he just has a lot of energy and a lot of passion that he brings to the message. And so, he did not disappoint at all. Before he comes on stage, everything gets really dark and the lights are there, and all of a sudden, you get this big, intense music. I can't even remember what it was, but it just got to be super loud, big dance music, right? And then Tony comes out on stage, he's pumping everyone up. It was a great experience. It was really incredible. And what was more incredible was he proceeded to speak to us for 6 hours, over 6 hours actually, and just the physical feat of speaking to a whole audience like that of thousands and thousands of people over that amount of time was absolutely incredible and very, very impressive. One part specifically, though, stood out to me and again really illustrated some of the points we're going to be talking about today. Tony had us all sit and rotate our shoulders to the left or to the right. I can't remember exactly which direction. So we're rotating our hips, our shoulders. We're rotating them to the left, and he just wanted us to see our range of motion, right? How far we were rotating. Then he asked us to close our eyes and imagine that we were able to rotate 360 degrees, so all the way around. And when he did that, then he had us open our eyes and try the exercise again, rotating our shoulders. And for the majority of the room, they found that they could rotate more than they could in the first place, just by simply visualizing it. And so this is such a perfect illustration of the power that having a positive mindset can have. If we decide that we are going to think positively about things, then this can have an absolutely huge difference in our life. Now, there are all sorts of traits and characteristics that really define someone who has a positive mindset. And we're going to go through some of those really quickly before we get into the 4 tips. So, someone who's optimistic. If you think of someone who has a positive mindset, generally they're optimistic, right? They have a willingness to make an effort and take a chance instead of assuming that their efforts are not going to pay off, right? They have acceptance. They acknowledge that things don't necessarily work out the way that they think every single time, but they're willing to learn from their mistakes. These people are resilient. This is another character trait of someone who has a positive mindset. They're resilient. They can bounce back from adversity. They have gratitude. They're thankful for the things that they have, for the lessons that they're learning. And we could do a whole nother topic about gratitude. It's one of my favorite topics as well, but gratitude is definitely up there as one of the characteristics and traits. There's also consciousness and mindfulness and integrity. So these 6 characteristics and traits really define someone who does have a positive mindset. Now, we've talked about a positive mindset, we've talked about some of the character traits, and we really are missing the component of why it's important to have a positive mindset. So we talked about hacking our mind in the first video, right? And we talked about some things that you can do to kind of reset yourself. But for me, one of the most important things when thinking about having a positive mindset is just realizing the overall joy that it can bring to my life. When you are embarking on something hard, whether that is writing a book or starting a YouTube channel, I love that example because this is all new to me. But when it's writing a book or starting a business or starting a relationship or doing anything that requires a fair amount of work and effort and energy, you're going to have to realize that this is going to be a journey. There's no magic bullet, there's no magic pill that'll make it, get quickly to the end. The point is the journey, right? The point is the overall process and your enjoyment of that. And so if the mindset that you have is negative, if it is fixed rather than a growth mindset like we talked about in the first video, you're definitely going to have a much worse experience along the journey of your life, along the journey of your business, along the journey of your relationships. And this is absolutely important. Like, that's where true happiness comes from, right? In my opinion, you have to be happy with the journey. It's not just about the paycheck, right? It's about what you do at work. It's about feeling fulfilled. It's about so many other things. So anyways, that's why this is so important, and that's why it's so important to have a positive mindset. Some of those elements, the optimism, the acceptance, the resilience, some of these things, they're absolutely essential to giving you a positive, just wonderful life that you're able to enjoy and you're able to be happy with while you're accomplishing things. So anyway, today we're going to be talking about those 4 tips. How are you actually able to be more optimistic or more resilient and actually have this positive mindset that we're talking about that's going to make this incredible difference in your journey through life or your business or whatever, right? So the first one is practicing gratitude. Now, this was one of the character traits of people who have this positive mindset. They are practicing gratitude. Now, it's not just about being thankful, but it's about finding ways to be thankful for something every single day. And this could even be small things, little things. I remember I was being mentored by Dave Meltzer once, and he shares this story of having to take out the trash. And he would always be upset and grumbling that he had to take out the trash, and it was just a wasted part of his day. But he decided to switch his mindset, and he decided to say thank you to himself that he got to take out the trash. Like, thank you for this opportunity to take out the trash. Now that kind of sounds crazy, like why be thankful for taking out the trash? Well, it gave him a little bit of time walking to and from the trash can to evaluate his day, to go over some things mentally and maybe even have some conversations with himself and slow down that he didn't have a chance to before, right? So all of a sudden he's taking this thing that he felt was negative before, he's hacking his mind, he's using gratitude, he's practicing gratitude to actually say, wow, thank you for this opportunity to, spend time thinking about something that I didn't have time to think about before while he's on his way to the trash, right? This mindless activity. So I thought that was a really, really good example, and there are so many different ways we can practice gratitude, but it's for me, one of the biggest things that works is saying thank you in the evenings and saying thank you in the mornings. If you can wake up and you can be thankful immediately for something, it sets your day in this very positive framework and helps you just be grateful and have gratitude right from the start, right? And at the end of the day, being grateful for the things that are happened, being grateful for the challenges, being grateful for the struggles, being grateful for the things that went right, and the people in your life who are helping you, get to where you're going. So that's number 1, practicing gratitude. Now, step number 2, I think, is arguably one of the most important steps. It's spending time with positive people. Now, we all know we have that friend who is a total Debbie Downer. No offense to any Debbies out there, but who is super negative all the time and who constantly is just looking for ways to be critical or bring others down. And there's always those people who are going to have that glass half empty type of mentality. But if you spend time around those people, they have a problem for every solution, right? They have something wrong with every single scenario. And eventually that negativity is really going to start wearing on you, and you're going to either have to start accepting it and you're going to start adopting a negative mindset, or you're just going to have to leave or remove yourself from the situation. So for me, spending time with positive people is one of the most important things, because that will rub off on you. Just the positivity, the behavior, the attitudes are infectious. And as humans, we have this herd mentality that we often ascribe to, even if we don't necessarily realize it, right? All right, step number 3 is positive self-talk and just really understanding the power of your mental conversations that you have with yourself. We talked about this a little bit in video 1, just about the types of discussions that you have with yourself about yourself really make a big difference. But this is absolutely true and is one of the big differentiators between having a negative or a positive mindset. If you're constantly having a negative conversation with yourself in your head, right? Whether it's about something that's going on, a situation that you're involved in, something that happened at work, right? Something relationally with a spouse or a child. If you're not practicing positive self-talk, if you're not practicing having those positive mental conversations with yourself, you're really setting yourself up in a terrible place to just have negative thoughts running through your mind. And again, we're talking about this framing. We're putting our mind and our body in these positive environments. We don't want to be hanging out with negative people, right? We don't want to be thinking negative thoughts. The stuff that we're putting into our bodies, both mentally and physically, are the things that are going to really affect how we think about things and the impact that we're able to have in other people's lives and in our lives. So again, making sure that we're practicing positive self-talk and then also just realizing the importance of the mental conversations we're having with ourselves. There's a level of awareness here that I think is important to note, because you can't just randomly have thoughts and not realize what you're thinking. That may sound kind of weird, but like, it's so important to be conscientious and basically take ownership over your thoughts. Don't just let idle thoughts or kind of mindless thoughts flit through your head, because they will influence you and they will take you down a positive or a negative direction. It's hard to go and just be neutral, right? It's always good to be intentional about what you're thinking, and not just what you're thinking, but the spin that your mind is putting on it. Step number 4, identify our areas of negativity. We want to know where we tend to be negative, right? We want to know where we tend to go to a negative place in our mindset, whether that's about ourselves, whether it's about other people. And a lot of times you can rewrite this, right? We talked about saying cancel in the first video. Maybe not saying cancel, but maybe, really having that conversation with yourself mentally that, I'm going to reprogram myself. I'm not going to allow myself to continue to go back to the negative way of thinking about this scenario or about this person, but I'm going to allow myself to experience this in a new way and give this experience a fresh start, right? For an example, if you are dealing with someone difficult at work, instead of preparing yourself to deal with them by having these negative thoughts that run through your mind, before you even see them, you're already complaining to yourself, right? You're already having those mental conversations with yourself of, oh man, I'm gonna have to see Tom at work and he's gonna be so annoying, or oh, I'm gonna see Jane and she's always complaining about something, or you're already gearing yourself up to have a negative experience with them. So it's very important to rewire this and make sure that you understand that this is an area that you might be negative in. And you'll see these patterns in your life, right? If you just take a little bit of time and are willing to be mindful about this, you're gonna think and you're gonna see, okay, yeah, it definitely bums me out when I have to go to work or see this person, or every time I forget something at the store, my spouse freaks out, right? Or every single time I'm trying to work, my kids do this, right? These are your areas of negativity, and they're gonna be different for each one. My areas are gonna be different than yours. Your areas are gonna be different than the next person's. And so identifying what your areas are of negativity will allow you to start rewriting some of those negative thoughts before they even happen. And it's important to develop a plan here. So you can't just think about it and kind of know when you're gonna be in that situation, but to develop a plan for how you're gonna handle it. So let's take the spouse example, right? You go to the store, you forget something. Every time you go to the store and forget something, you come home and your spouse is pissed. They're upset, they're frustrated, they're saying maybe some mean or hurtful things to you. But if you have a plan before how you're going to handle it. Maybe, you realize that they are responding like that because they don't feel like you're listening to them or you're being heard. And so your plan is, when you do that, you're going to go in and apologize. You're human, you might forget things, and you're going to be in that scenario. But then how you handle that scenario and the preparation you do to make sure that you handle it correctly will go so far to rewiring that area of negativity in your life, and overall allow you to kind of reset some of those relationships. That's something that's powerful, that's worked in my own life, and I know that it will help you as well. So thank you so much for watching this. Again, I love this channel. It's a place that, we can talk about success in life, not just in the professional setting, but also in the personal setting, because I think those go hand in hand so much. And so I would love to hear feedback about this topic. What are some areas, what are some ways that you are more positive? What are some ways that maybe if you're having a bad day that you can reset yourself? And what are some of the things that maybe I've spoken about in this video that have resonated with you? So if you liked any of those, definitely leave me a comment, consider subscribing, and track with me on social media. I put out content on Instagram and Facebook, a bunch of stuff both professionally about my professional and personal life. So I'd love to see you there. So let's get ready for video number 3 of the Mindset series. We will see you in the next video.